new episode of the podcast entitled Couch Potatoes Unite! This is a podcast based on a blog of the same name because it's what we would be called on any rock from any sun, really. My name is Kylie and I love TV. If you feel the same, keep listening and or checking out the blog at couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com, as you're bound to find some common ground or something you like. For Couch Potatoes Unite, we're all about the wonders and the unique long-form storytelling of the small screen. CPU, ! Wishes you rest from the heat, whatever heat that might be, and hopes you've been following releases of brand new episodes of the podcast on Wednesdays, as well as new blog entries on some Tuesdays. And as always, we have several more new episodes on the way. Because the panelists and I live lives behind our podcast, the episodes are published once per week. Subscribe to the blog or the podcast via iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or via Google Play to stay on top of brand new episodes. Episodes already published discuss a variety of shows around the water cooler, including, but not limited to, Game of Thrones, Stranger Things, Grimm, and the Marvel's Netflix series, including Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist. We've published several episodes in our Looking Back series covering such diverse shows as Person of Interest, Glee, That 70s Show, Gallivant, and 6 Feet Under. Plus, a bevy of new episodes are in the works, including revisits for How to Get Away with Murder, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, The Fuller House series, New Girl, Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Gotham, Supernatural, The 100, Once Upon a Time, Doctor Who, Orange is the New Black, The Originals, and the DCTU series panel covering Arrow, Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, and Supergirl, with an episode for each show. Hey, it's the end of season. A final visit with our Vampire Diaries panel to say goodbye to the long-running and ending series in two-part episode. A final visit with our Broadchurch panel to say goodbye to the mystery drama from across the pond. We'll be launching a new panel covering Lemony Snicket's Unfortunate Events, a new series anniversary retrospective about the Buffyverse covering Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel, and because we also look back at shows now past, we'll be looking back at Marvel's Agent Carter and Sense8, the latter in a two-part series, as it was just canceled. What's more, CPU from time to time goes live. We've appeared at Comedy Outlet Mondays at Dog Story Theater and at Grand Rapids Comic-Con in Grand Rapids, Michigan, while streaming live on Facebook. More live appearances are being planned, so make sure you like us at our Facebook page, our Twitter, follow us at CPU Podcast, our Instagram at Couch Potatoes Unite, and or our Pinterest at CPU Podcast, or subscribe to the blog, our YouTube channel, our iTunes channel, our Stitcher Radio channel, or find us on Google Play. In the meantime, if you don't hear your show in this podcast format, fellow panelists and I still write reviews, and we're always seeking new panelists. So, if you have any interest in joining the discussion, say hello by finding us at any of those outlets I've mentioned. At the very least, stop by and leave us a thumbs up, comment, or review. We like feedback, but you don't have to be a big giant head about it. Truly, you don't. Today's panel is looking back at an American situation comedy that aired on NBC from 1996 to 2001 for 6 seasons and a total of 139 episodes. If you aren't already aware, from time to time, CPU chooses shows of all types, but usually of some fame or notoriety to reminisce about and to consider whether or not they age gracefully, like Tommy Solomon, or don't age quite as well, like Dick Solomon, or perhaps Mary Albright. As such, this is another chapter of our Looking Back podcast episodes, wherein we review a show that has been gone, either via natural end or cancellation, for some time. And today that show is Third Rock from the Sun, a series about 4 extraterrestrials who are on an expedition to Earth, which they consider to be a very insignificant planet, and who pose as a human family to observe the behavior of human beings. In Third Rock, the 4 alien members of an extraterrestrial research expedition attempt to live as a normal human family in the fictional city of Rutherford, Ohio, said to be 52 miles outside of Cleveland, where they reside and to some extent hide in an attic apartment. Humor is principally derived from the aliens' attempts to study human society and because they live as humans themselves while on Earth to understand the human condition. Dr. Mary Albright, played by Jane Curtin, is a professor of anthropology at fictional Pendleton State University. Many of the issues with which the 4 aliens struggle are spurred by situations stemming from her experiences and work. After a time, these 4 aliens ultimately appear to forget their initial mission as they're drawn further and further into human life. Dick Solomon, played by John Lithgow, the High Commander and leader of the expedition, is the family provider as a physics professor who shares an office with Dr. Albright at Pendleton. Incidentally, Ian Lithgow, John Lithgow's oldest son, plays one of his less successful students. Information officer and oldest member of the crew, Tommy, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, ironically assigned the body of a teenager, is forced to enroll in high school and later college, leaving security officer Sally, played by Kristen Johnston, and, quote, the one with the transmitter in his head, end quote, Harry, played by French Stewart, to spend their lives as 20-somethings, hanging out at home and bouncing through short-term jobs. The family often communicates through Harry with their off-world and initially unseen boss, the big giant head, who, when he finally visits Earth, appears in the body of William Shatner. This popular and acclaimed sitcom won several awards while on the air. In fact, John Lithgow received an Emmy Award nomination for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Comedy Series for each year the show was broadcast, winning the Emmy in 96, 97, and 99. Kristen Johnston won Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series twice of 3 nominations, and Lithgow further won a Golden Globe and 2 SAG Awards for his performance. Today, for CPU's Look Back at Third Rock from the Sun, 2 familiar CPU voices and 1 brand new voice have gathered together to form 3 parts of the podcast's own alien research mission, though I think that somehow makes me the High Commander, which means I might need to rethink this scheme, to reminisce and to laugh with and about the Solomons from outer space. It should be noted, though, that all of our panelists have viewed the entire series and may discuss sensitive plot points, sight gags, and jokes best appreciated by a first watch. So for those of you who haven't watched Third Rock, listen at your own risk, as there may be major spoilers. At this time, I'm going to ask the panel to introduce themselves. CPU Loyal should know the drill, and I think they do by now as well. I'm going to ask them to identify themselves by their first name only, please. Tell us how you came to start watching the show, what made you start watching, how'd you find out about it, what kept you watching, did you watch all 6 seasons? And then, how would you rate your interest in the show? According to the standard CPU character question, which changes with each show we do. And because this is a Looking Back podcast, what I need you to do is rate your interest in the series at the start of it, when you first started watching, and how you felt or were interested in it at the end of the show. Are you ready, panel?
Yes, ma'am.
They really are ready. I can vouch for that. So how would you rate your interest, beginning and end, with Third Rock from the Sun? You loved it, of course, especially the High Commander, because you're like a High Commander, and you love the way the High Commander loved Mary, and loved himself. You related to that. Mostly you just found the show hilarious, observational, touching, slightly off-putting in its level of sophistication, or lack thereof, but easy to adore all the same. Like Dick Solomon. You enjoyed the show, which was unexpected. It was confusing at times, especially during its discussion and jokes about gender, and though you were reluctant to be comfortable with some of the interspecies romantic aspects, you found yourself enjoying them and the whole show quite a bit all the same, and in spite of yourself. Also, you are secure in your own self-identity enough to appreciate the show's more genteel aspects, like Sally Solomon. You liked the show immensely despite its considerable flaws, quite possibly because you were insecure about your own considerable flaws, like Dr. Mary Albright. You thought the show was a wild time, full of energy and vigor, which reminded you of your youth. Also, watching it was a means to an end, like marrying off your daughter or collecting rent. Or you watched it because your family, friends, or tenants watched it, like Mrs. Mamie Dubček. You thought the show was a bit simple, when you could understand it, that is. In many ways, you watched it because you were just along for the ride, and or because you sometimes received transmissions from alien life beyond Earth, like Harry Solomon. You liked the show well enough at first, even though much of it was beneath you in terms of intelligence and humor, but you soon became bored of it, or perhaps too big for your britches, and jumped the shark to go to college or film or whatever, like Tommy Solomon. You thought the show was overrated. Oh, sure, you played up some of the aspects you liked, especially to impress someone attractive who you had no business being with or impressing, to make you seem more dangerous and alluring. But you came to realize that the show was pure fluff, not unlike your career, like Officer Don Leslie Orville. Or you didn't like the show at all. You thought the show was dumb, annoying, insensitive, lacking boundaries, and over the top. You have a boss that fits that very description, in fact, like Nina Campbell. Who would like to start?
I'll start.
Okay.
I forgot. Nick!
Hi, Nick! He didn't really forget, Michael.
I might have. I came to watch the show because I watched a lot of what NBC put out in prime time, whatever day it was on. But I didn't stay with it consistently, and I don't know if that had to do with the day of the week switching or the time slot it was on. I really did enjoy it when I caught it. I feel like it was Tuesdays mainly or something, and that was harder to be consistent for me to watch. I think I'm Dick Solomon.
At the beginning or at the end, or both?
Both, but...
Because you love yourself?
Yep. That's it. No, because I love Dick, because I love that character, and I love the relationship. I love Mary Albright, and their storyline is probably my favorite aspect of the show. And then I would think towards the end it would be Dick plus a little Mary, because while I think it holds up, it is still a really funny show. There are some flaws in it, which I don't mind, like Mary doesn't mind.
Fair enough. Welcome, Nick. Welcome back. Nick's been on a ton of our podcast panels.
Hi, I'm Michael.
Hi, Michael.
Hi. I came to watch this show when I was in 8th grade. It was 1996, I was in 8th grade, yes, and there are some people who were probably not in 8th grade back then,
Thanks,
so
Michael.
I'm not mentioning names. At the time, I was more TV obsessed than I am now, so I was keeping up with the new fall schedule when it was announced, and I heard about this show, and we were like, what's this show? It sounds weird and kind of interesting. And I can still, to this day, distinctly remember watching the pilot episode with my mother, and we thought it was the most hilarious thing in the entire universe. And that says something, because I can remember, my mom just, cracking up at literally every joke, and I'm pretty sure they rebroadcast it at some point that week, or maybe we recorded it or something, and we actually watched it again, either in the rebroadcast or on recording. So that says something about how we felt about it at first. And I can remember watching it pretty religiously when it first came out. I was definitely a Dick Solomon. It was so funny, and just loved the characters and loved him.
And yourself?
And I don't know, well, in 96, no, definitely not. But, no, I don't want sympathy. That was at first,
It was pretty.
but towards the end of the series, I was more like Tommy Solomon, only because I literally jumped the shark by going to college. And that changed my viewing habits in general. Just I didn't have time to watch primetime television every night like I used to in high school. So I didn't watch it as much. Any show that I was a fan of, I did stop watching as much in college as I did when I was in high school. So still enjoyed it, but mostly I'm Tommy because of the whole jumping the shark and going to college thing.
All right, fair enough. Welcome back, Michael.
Thank you.
If you listen to our Looking Back series, he's on quite a few of them, but he's also on our Stranger Things panel.
Yes.
And I'm Penny.
Hi, Penny.
Hi.
You're brand new to CPU.
I am, and thank you so much for inviting me. This is a hoot.
Great. We hope it stays that way.
Well, and I first started watching Third Rock because I saw the previews that, the coming season, and I love Jane Curtin, love John Lithgow, so I had to watch that show, and I found it hilarious from the beginning to the end. Maybe I just have filter. But I think I would have to be a Mary, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
Because Mary's an anthropologist, and this show, I'm an English major, so you look at, this is a theme throughout literature, and it's kind of a stretch to class Third Rock as literature.
But I'm willing to listen to your take.
This is interesting.
But I got this message from the big giant head that said, because you have this theme throughout literature of the naive coming in, and this is the way you look at your culture and your society through the eyes, and that's, for instance, Stranger in a Strange Land, and that's what made the humor so funny to me, was looking at the foibles of us as human beings and go, well, we do that, that's really crazy. So that's why I think of myself as Mary, even though I actually like to be in control, so I probably should be the commander, but...
Did you find the show flawed, or do you just identify with Mary?
I read, in preparation for tonight, I read some of the criticisms from the TV critics, and they seem to be mixed, and some of them found the show to be really flawed. I don't know, I just thought it was hilarious, and I just enjoyed it.
Okay.
So,
fair enough.
Yeah, that's...
Well, welcome to CPU, Penny.
Thank you.
And we should probably explain dynamics, Nick.
Yeah, Penny is my wife's aunt. So
your aunt-in-law.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So you might call her Aunt Penny.
I might.
And we'll forgive you. Welcome to you all. And, of course, I'm going to participate as a panelist today, as well as moderate this panel, and I'm Kylie, I mentioned that. And I started watching Third Rock from the Sun, actually because my mom started to watch Third Rock from the Sun for whatever reason, and she thought this show was hysterical. My mom is, Mama, if you're listening, I'm sorry, but she's kind of hard to please when it comes to, like, certain TV shows and sitcoms in particular, but she thought John Lithgow was just the greatest thing since sliced bread, essentially. She thought the whole show was funny. I think she also enjoyed Sally quite a bit. So whenever Third Rock came on, whatever night it came on, I don't even remember, it was on in the house, so I would actually sit down and watch it. But I didn't actually love it at first, which is kind of ironical as we sit here. I thought it had its moments of being smart and had its moments of being not smart, like a little too, how shall I say, a little too simple. So I would actually, at the start of watching Third Rock from the Sun, classify myself as hairy. Which is okay, because he was actually, for a time, I don't know if all the way through, he was my favorite character, because I thought he was funny. Although I do think French Stewart hasn't done much since then.
No.
Nothing that good.
Nothing that good, for sure. I did end up, I watched the series finale at the time it was on, but I don't really remember it very much back then. I rewatched the series later when it was on Netflix. Front to back, all the way through. Yep. Appreciated it much more as an adult. Thought it was funnier. Still not my most favorite sitcom, but way more connected to it, I think, now that I could sort of see it maybe from Dick's point of view and from Sally's point of view, not so much Harry's point of view, and certainly not Tommy's. Because whatever he is. So, I think by the end, what I would say is I would probably be Sally. I enjoyed the show, which was unexpected. It was confusing at times, at least in terms of what I was supposed to laugh at, but all in all, I did enjoy it. So, and that's why we're here. We're looking back at Third Rock because, I think everybody enjoyed it to some extent. They're going to talk about that.
Very true.
Maybe they enjoyed parts that others didn't enjoy, or vice versa. But also, this was a very critically acclaimed series. However people might have been talking about it, at the time, it had all the acclaim, and John Lithgow was, as I noted in the intro, showered with awards. So let's start with the basic question, which we always start with, other than the character question in these Looking Back podcasts. How did you feel about the show in general? You can talk generally or as specifically as you want. What did you love? What did you hate?
I feel like we already started, so maybe we should keep going with John Lithgow, since we mentioned his award. Yes. But John Lithgow's, this part's
what can you say about
perfect for him, too.
He's so good at being blank.
Yeah.
And just not getting it. He's in a current show right now where he's like, I forgot what the name of it is.
Trial and Error.
Yes.
Trial and Error, where he's extremely, like, no filter on, and he just never, he's just so good at that.
And sometimes in stuff you watch, he goes almost extreme with his acting choices.
Well, yes.
But for this part, he's
it works.
Yeah, it is perfect for him.
It was a sitcom in the late 90s, so, basically, that's what you did. You went all out, and you hammed it up as much as you possibly could. And he was beautiful at doing that, and turned it into an art form.
His turns from serious,
yes.
from that blank expression, from 0 to 11, with his reactions to things, they were just perfect and hilarious.
They were perfect and hilarious. What else did you like about Third Rock from the Sun? I think we're going to say Dick a lot.
Yes. Apparently, almost every single one of the episodes is named after Dick, so...
Apparently.
Yeah.
Like his name is in the title of the episode?
Yes.
Yes,
like,
on many of them.
That's true.
Yeah.
Did you want to say more about
No,
that?
I was just basically going to make a big deal about the double entendre.
You like Sally?
Sally's good, yes.
Yeah, I like Sally a lot because she's completely lost. She's the tough security officer, and suddenly she's this woman who got to be the woman because she drew the short straw,
yes.
and she doesn't know how to fulfill this role. I
Yeah.
can certainly identify with that.
Aww.
And one of my favorite scenes in an episode is her standing up next to a bar. There's two guys sitting at the bar, and she lifts up her shirt and she goes, "Look at this! I can pinch this skin and it like snaps right back in. What? Isn't that amazing?" And they go, you know, they're with their mouths open. Yeah. But she's just like, wow.
Yeah, they really played with the gender dynamic of that character, and obviously was just a beautiful gold mine of comedy, of that era.
So you say, Michael, that it was a late 90s sitcom and Hammy was just the thing. Where else are you basing this off of? Because to me, Third Rock was like the crux of ham and cheese on rye.
Okay, to be fair, I guess technically the late 90s sitcom wasn't really anything like that, but it was so I probably should retract that statement because it really didn't mean anything. So yeah, I guess I'll just retract that statement.
Because I was thinking about it, I think that's one of the comment that I was going to make is I think that's one of the unique parts about Third Rock.
Is that it was not anything like what was going on.
Exactly.
However, it reminded me of my Nick at Night days. When you did a sitcom, there needed to be a witch or a genie or a robotic daughter or something. Or elf. There are so many of these sitcoms where you had to find that weird quirk that is not normal.
That's what I'm basing on. I watched a lot of Nick at Night in the late 90s, so therefore
you forgot that
I associate, even though I'm well aware that most of those sitcoms were from the 50s and 60s, I just associate my youth in high school and middle school with watching old TV shows, so therefore that's what I mean.
So you're comparing it to Bewitched?
Yes, actually.
Or Mr. Ed. There's one that does not hold up. I'm telling you, I lined up my kids on the couch when Nick at Night was going to show Mr. Ed and said, "Oh, this was a wonderful show." And we all sat there and they said, "What's funny about this?" And I said, "I don't know."
The horse talks.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But I look back at Third Rock and the jokes are so funny.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
I would definitely say that watching it on Netflix again the second time, and that was recently, sometime within the last year, it was funnier. It did hold up because the fact that they're aliens and they're in their own self-contained little world, mostly in the attic of that attic apartment, if not Dick's office. So
yeah, I was watching YouTube clips of various episodes before I got here today, and I was laughing to myself the entire time, and I was like, wow, I can't believe I don't remember how funny this all was. It still holds up.
It does.
I think a lot of it's casting, too. I really enjoy the whole cast and the guest stars.
The ensemble that they had together, the chemistry was good.
It was. I think they had to get to that. That was actually what I was just about to say.
Perfect.
I feel that in the first couple of seasons, John Lithgow is basically carrying the show, but then eventually they all click. They find the groove, whether it's Sally and Don, or it's Harry being whatever he was, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt broke out with this show.
Yeah.
So he kind of got more confident, less little gawky teenager with the shoulder-length hair, that kind of thing. And by that point, they were actually, it was almost like the other three actors were trying to meet John Lithgow's particular caliber of performance. Maybe never quite, but...
Was it partly the writing, though, do you think?
Could be. I mean, there's always an adjustment as well, coming off of a first season, definitely. But I do think part of it was just sort of how they clicked together. I almost think he elevated the rest of them, except for Jane Curtin. She was great all the way through.
Yeah,
she's a pro.
Definitely.
She's a pro.
I don't know, I feel like she was kind of the unsung hero of the show, honestly.
Because she wasn't the quirky alien.
Yeah.
She was the straight man, straight
She
woman.
Which is the hardest part to
people.
play, I feel like. I think the straight person is what makes the other person funnier.
Yeah.
And in their own way, it's actually funnier that they are doing these reactions the right way to build up the comedic foil. But Jane Curtin, their relationship, they worked well together.
Yes.
I always loved
They had
when
fantastic chemistry.
Yes.
fantastic chemistry.
But she wasn't like the typical straight man, and I'm using air quotes right now because I just feel like
drunk
that.
a lot.
I don't know about that. I don't know any.
Her character.
Her character drank a
Oh,
lot.
Her character.
I forgot about that
Yeah,
part.
not the actress. I don't
I
know
mean, we don't know
the
about the actress.
No, I meant the fact that she wasn't typical, and the fact that she actually had a very dynamic character backstory, and there was a lot of. I mean, she had a lot of agency, and she was doing a lot of. She had a very complicated relationship with Dick Solomon. Actually, it wasn't just like she obviously was attracted to him in some obscene, weird way, but she was also seemed to be somewhat repulsed by this attraction, and she didn't understand it, which was funny because she was an anthropologist, and so she was.
Good point.
Yeah. So, I don't know, I mean, the on and off again thing was actually worked for the show. Most of the time that would be rather annoying, but I felt like the back and forth of it actually improved it.
It's one of my favorite on-again, off-again relationships, as that is something that NBC forced down most sitcoms, whether the writers wanted to do it or not, because Sam and Diane was so popular.
Cheers.
Yeah, and normally that just gets annoying. You're like, get together or don't.
Right.
I don't care anymore.
But it's hard to argue with them because Frasier had it, Friends had it. These are long-running sitcoms, so it's hard to argue with that. But it's just finding a creative way to do it, and I think Third Rock did it well.
Well, and I think the aspect that kind of added to the Mary and Dick on again, off again was sort of the intrigue around, is she going to find out who he really is?
Exactly, yes.
And as an anthropologist, why didn't she know he was weird?
Well, I think she figured out he was weird.
Yeah, she just didn't know why he was weird.
Exactly.
Isn't that actually a joke in the last episode where it's like, of course, why didn't I see it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
It was occasionally meta,
That is
despite
true.
the fact that.
Yes.
So did you have any favorite seasons or favorite sort of pieces of the show other than the Dick and Mary?
My favorite character, I loved, because Don wasn't like a cast member at first. I like,
No, he was a regular in the last couple.
Yeah.
And they were recurring up until that point.
and I don't know, I feel like Nina's name wasn't in the credits until later as well, and I really liked his.
I forgot how much I liked Nina.
Her interactions with Dick, and
Yeah.
Because another straight person role.
Yeah.
And she was good at that.
Yeah.
Well, she had the unique role of also being this one that steps back and observes everything and comments on it ironically, which is a very 90s staple.
Because Mary's kind of a straight person, but she gets sucked in. Nina doesn't. She's the straight person who sees it and goes, good Lord.
well, sometimes what she's observing is Mary and Dick, and like, why is that even happening? Her friend Mary, that it doesn't even make sense.
Right.
With sass.
Yeah.
She had the sass quotient. I'm going to say again, even though I said it in the character breakdown, that I liked Harry. At least for a while. I think he got old at the end, maybe? Because I don't think they knew what else to do with them.
Yes. When they started putting him in some, like, if I remember correctly, some weird jobs and him trying to make it, and that was kind of a little off.
And the relationship with Duchek's daughter was played by the deceased now, Jan Hooks.
Sad face.
R.I.P. Which was really funny, but then at the same time also got a little, because they're so big as characters, so they were around more, and that kind of was tedious a little bit.
In Harry's jacket, the fur coat.
Yeah.
Yes!
Yes. But the Don-Sally relationship, I always got a kick out of because she's an alien and she doesn't know that she's a gorgeous, statuesque woman and that Don's a short, dumpy guy.
Yeah.
A little bit of a schlub.
And that normally she wouldn't be, a woman like her wouldn't be attracted to someone like, but she is, and I love that because she cares about him. She's attracted to him regardless.
But is she attracted to him or to the alleged danger surrounding
surrounding officer? Yeah, we saw what kind of coply things he did on the show. Yeah, if she was looking for danger, she's looking in the wrong place. Right?
Yeah, and she was the security guard, and this was her.
Right, she could identify
her window into Earth's security.
Yeah,
yes.
Whether it was a prime example or not.
But that's a very good point.
I particularly enjoyed the earlier seasons with Sally and her kind of discovering girly
yes.
things.
Yes.
Why would I wear this? This is so. Oh, it's so soft.
It was interesting how they played with how the body that they chose influenced the character as well. Like the same thing with Tommy. He's this old man, and he had those old man moments, but he was still going through.
Yeah.
Did he even go through puberty?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
he experienced it.
Yes.
His voice dropped, and he had the whole girlfriend piece.
One of his girlfriends cuts his hair. He's like, I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, I remember that was a big joke, because when he did cut his hair, it was like a big deal.
Yes.
Because the girlfriend took his ponytail and cut it because she was mad at him.
Didn't the girl who played Alex Mack and also his girlfriend in 10 Things I Hate About You, weren't they dating in real life? And
That I don't know. I don't know.
On the show?
No idea.
I don't remember.
I liked Joseph Gordon-Levitt at the time, but only as a oh hey, he's an actor that's my age, and if he can make it work, I can make it work.
I see.
But he had a lot of years of experience
that's the
behind
thing.
it that you didn't have it.
No, that's the thing.
Honey, just called him out.
I didn't mean to. I'm sorry.
It's okay. We're all friends here. So, do you still like Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
Oh, big time.
Oh,
He's
okay.
like an amazing actor. If he doesn't win an Oscar at some point in the near future, I will be shocked.
Very
I mean,
talented.
yeah.
I mean, I guess he wasn't so big for his britches. The britches were big enough.
It was interesting that when he went to college, maybe it's just coincidence, but I felt like the show was lacking a bit, or I didn't like how it happened. I don't know, but he was definitely not my favorite character. He's probably the least favorite in the cast, even though I still enjoyed him being part of the show.
I just think you needed the 4. I mean, I would agree with that
Yeah.
observation. By the 6th season, where he was kind of there part-time, there was a kind of a hole in that chemistry. And by that point, they did kind of work together really, really well. So I think when he was gone, you felt it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Shatner. Because he recurred. He was supposed to be sort of a one-off thing, but he kept coming back as the big giant head. What did we think about the big giant head?
Well, I feel like the first time we see him, Dick picks him up from the airport, and Shatner says something about he saw something on the wing.
Yes.
Which was called back to his Twilight Zone
Yeah,
episode,
yeah,
but
yes.
also called back to John Lithgow playing the same part in the Twilight Zone movie. They did the same.
Yeah, that was.
So I like how they started it out with that. I think Shatner fit right in with his acting style.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you saw him for the first time, you went, "Yep, he would be the big giant."
Yes.
Agreed.
He has a big ego. He has a big giant head. Makes sense. Yes.
And he talks like this. So therefore it works.
Yeah, so I enjoyed Shatner. I like Star Trek, so of course I loved Shatner being on it.
Kind of an easy sell. Did anyone not like him?
No, I thought he was amazing. Just great. I love the fact that William Shatner has been able to make a career for himself later in his career, mainly by playing into his shortcomings as an actor.
Poking fun at himself. Yes.
Well, it's good he's got a sense of humor.
That is true.
He was kind of grumpy about it earlier.
That's true.
Yes, he wrote a book wherein you would have thought he was the next Feel-Good or something.
There's plenty of outtakes of him taking himself very seriously.
Yes.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
When he could have been a lighthearted Adam West type, where he sorry.
R.I.P. Adam West, although he lived to a nice age and had a happy life. He was the bright knight. That's what he called himself.
That's right.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Aw, Bam Pow. How do you feel about the show now that time has passed? Does it hold up? We kind of talked a little bit about this, but do you think it will hold up and continue to hold up?
Honestly, when you first asked me to be a part of this, or put it out there, and I was like, oh yeah, that show, I remember that show. It was more like because it had been such a while since it had been on the air, and it had been a while since I sat down to watch it in syndication, because it hadn't been in syndication rotation for a while. That rhymes. Anyway, sorry, I have a 5-year-old at home, and whenever anything rhymes, she has to point it out. So
Fair enough. Hi, Nessa, if you're listening.
So it was one of those shows where I was just like, oh yeah, I remember that show, and I remember watching it, and remember liking it. So a little bit of nostalgia came back, And then when I started to rewatch clips and everything, I didn't have a lot of time to sit down and watch every episode again. I was like, oh man, this was really funny. And so I think it does hold up. And there's one video online that's on YouTube that's apparently just like bits and pieces from an episode when they were voting, when Dick when he discovers voting for the first time, and I was like, timely, very interesting. There we go. So yeah,
aliens voting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, it still holds up, and some of the humor actually takes on a completely different meaning now in these interesting times.
I agree with that. I think I definitely wanted to rewatch it because I remembered enjoying it, but in the back of my head I was preparing myself for it to not hold up, because I know, especially like aspects of Harry, I would thought might be goofy and cartoonish and not well done, and I know, kind of remembering John Lithgow going to extremes with his acting choices, but I feel like that holds up, and what will help it hold up is the acting, and then the basis of the storyline of aliens observing. I think as time goes on, it's just going to feel like a show that takes place in the 90s. It's not going to feel like a show that was made in the 90s. So I think it'll still be worth rewatching.
Rewatched it. My husband and I rewatched it last fall. We noticed it was on Netflix, and we said, "Hey, that was a good show. Let's watch that." So we rewatched the whole series, and I didn't expect, as you said, Nick, I didn't expect it to be as funny the second time around because, like Mr. Ed, but it was just he falls asleep a lot, so I don't know how much. But I laughed. I laughed through the whole thing again. So I think it does hold up. I don't know how long it will. I mean, there's bound to come a time when it'll be maybe really be like when the real aliens get here. It'll be really dated.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah, that'll really antiquate it and make it quaint. If and when we ever encounter actual aliens, it'd be like, wow, that was nothing like what one show in the 90s posited.
They probably won't be giant purple tubes.
Is that what they are?
I think so.
Yeah, they did.
They were tubes,
and
they were big tubes. I can't remember if they were all purple or
big blobby tubes or something like that.
We never saw them in tube form.
Yeah, no, we didn't. It was not too long ago when I rewatched it, but I don't remember that.
It comes up a couple times.
I'm sure. I trust you. I think the show is going to hold up for everything everyone has said. I think that it will look 90s-esque in the way that other shows like Friends early seasons and Seinfeld and some of those big ones. I mean, they clearly are dated, but the humor is timeless because it is about human foibles and the human condition.
Exactly.
And because it's an outside view of it, I think
exactly.
helps it.
So, and John Lithgow, God bless that man. I mean, he's had a long storied career. He has done everything.
The first time I saw him was in that movie,
The World According to Garp.
Harry and the Hendersons?
No.
Footloose.
No.
It's like
I need
She's
more.
dying. She's dying.
Oh.
And he befriends her in the grocery store, and her mother is that other.
Oh, this one.
That one.
Horror movie comedy?
No, well, it was a drama, and she dies at the end of it.
She dies at the end.
She dies at
Terms
the end.
of Endearment?
Terms of Endearment.
Wow,
Is he in that one?
I didn't know that.
I forgot that he would be even in that one.
Yeah, that was the first place I ever saw him. And, of course, it was a completely different, it was a very dramatic, but he was still a different kind of a character. Like I said, he befriends her in the grocery store, and it was just kind of odd, but...
I can't believe I pulled that out just by she dies in the end.
Well, it is. Well, she does.
Camille. No. Yeah, like it was the only movie where somebody died. Yeah, Terms of Endearment. And then, so the other one's from there. Harry and the Hendersons wasn't my favorite, but...
That's the one that I first became aware of. John Lithgow was
Yeah, well, because you're way younger than I am. You're probably too young for Terms of Endearment.
I
have seen it.
I think the aspect of the show that might not... There's moments with Nina where his alien curiosity is like... I don't know if anyone else could have pulled it off like John Lithgow did, but...
Because it was like over the top.
Yeah, and could be determined offensive by other viewers. I think it was lighthearted in nature. That's, I think, the only thing as time goes on those moments might be harder to watch, but I think they were well acted.
They were, and I think playing the alien piece of it is going to undercut any creepiness that might happen out of that.
Because he is the naive.
Yes.
He doesn't know what's going on. He's just trying to figure it all out. So you don't really take offense at some of the things he says as if he came in and he was a human and he knew darn well what he was saying.
Right.
Exactly. Would you have watched more of it? Do you think it ended in the right spot? Would you watch more? Or would you have watched more? Or do you think it went on for too long?
I feel like the last season was my least favorite.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that means it should have been done there, but if it continued in that vein, then yes, it was a good place to end. But if they found their footing not having Tommy anymore, maybe it would have picked up better. But
a sitcom of that nature is perfect at 5 seasons, maybe 6. That's just, you don't want to go much beyond that because
the gags are hard to find.
Yeah.
After a while.
And if it overstays its welcome, it gets tired. If you want it to be around, at least you want it to go over that 100 mark because that's where syndication comes in.
Yes.
If you go much further than that,
it gets harder to believe that in the past 6 years of them being on Earth, there's new things that they haven't come across.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it starts to feel like,
Been
well,
there,
they
done
should have
that.
come across that already, and we just didn't get an episode.
Exactly.
I agree. I would actually put out there that I think it went 1 season too long. I think it ended well, but when Joseph Gordon-Levitt was trying to make the jump, I mean, like I said earlier, I felt like they were a unit as 4.
Yeah.
And without him there more often, it disrupted the flow a little bit. Because by that time, they had done all the gags, they had done all the Sally and Don, and
all the gimmicks.
All the gimmicks, and
the dream episode.
Yeah, so there was really nothing left but for all the human characters to find out that they were aliens. So to that end, I think they used the 6th season well, and it ended out well, but I do think they also could have ended it at the 5th season finale. So, and just kind of let everybody sail off into the sunset. But speaking of the finale, what did you think about the series finale? Do you think it was a proper send-off?
Yes.
You remember it?
I do.
I barely remember it.
This is one of the few finales that I actually watched at the time that it aired, and I heard that it was ending, and I was like, oh, I love that show, I should tune in, and I did manage to actually tune in. It was probably because I was on hiatus between college years, so I was able to actually sit down and watch TV. I didn't have homework. But I remember, I liked the idea of the dynamic of whether or not Mary was going to stick around now that she knew that they were all aliens, and whether they were going to stick around or not, whether they were going to go back to their home planet. And I thought that really ended up wrapping up very nicely.
I'm not sure if I liked Mary's memories getting erased.
Yeah.
Do other people like that or not like that?
I don't know that I had an opinion beyond it worked for me. Like, I understand why they made the choice, and I think that it fits in with other sci-fi. I mean, Superman kissed Lois Lane's memories away, so...
Yeah, right.
Back had their stun gun thing there, whatever
the
that
laser
was.
thing.
Yeah, so I don't know that I had a response to the effect of, I liked it or I didn't like it.
Well, she'd have been unhappy if she'd been left with those memories, and then they were all gone, and the rest of her life, she knows she'll never see them again, and I don't know. That wouldn't have been nice.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been nice. And there was clearly not practical for her to go with the purple tube thing, so...
Yes.
Yeah, because could they make her a purple tube body, or was she just going to be... Never mind.
That is a legitimate question. I think they did take a minute to explore it. And I think for a minute the 4, considered staying on Earth, but were basically and essentially told you can't do that. So, I don't know, I think it worked. Now, there's no rumor that this is going to happen, but revival series are all the rage.
Yes, they are. Roseanne,
for example, Will and Grace is...
Yeah, Will and Grace.
Wasn't Roseanne?
Roseanne was one of the...
She's one of the aliens.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
She was like
down as like...
Wasn't she the perfect...
They sent her down as his wife.
She was.
Which when I watched it at the time, went over my head, but like... That's a complete juxtaposition.
They sent her down
to
be Dick's wife.
Right.
Yes.
I remember that.
She's like the perfect housewife, but very controlling.
Well, yeah.
Very annoying.
That's the joke. I don't like it. But Roseanne is a prime example. Will and Grace is a prime example. Like they've brought back other 90s shows like The X-Files, and Prison Break was kind of 2000s. Do you think that this is a candidate for revival? Why or why not?
I don't think it will be.
Ignoring the fact that John Lithgow's on a show right now.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it's forgotten, even though we're in the age of...
And so is...
Joseph Gordon-Levitt's probably busy.
He's in movies. And Kirsten Johnston is on a show.
She's on a show, yeah.
I think the only chance it would have is if it was like this... Well, what Will and Grace is doing is, is it a 6-episode special or something?
It's very short,
10,
I know.
I think.
Yeah.
I could see something like that. I highly doubt it, but I wouldn't mind just to see Jane Curtin do something again. Because I can't remember the last time I've seen her in something.
Do you watch The Librarians?
I don't. Is she in
She's
that?
She's on there, yeah. I haven't seen it in a while. It's not my favorite show. My husband likes it.
So he stays awake for it?
No.
Must not be that much.
No. He has this chair, this magic chair. If you sit in it, you fall asleep.
I love it. I might check out The Librarians just to see Jane Curtin.
She's getting up there in years, too.
Well, she has to be. She was an original Saturday Night Live cast member.
Yeah, she was.
Was she older than John Lithgow?
I think so.
Yes.
Maybe a little bit.
I think so.
My high school brain, he was older, but like bald and gray hair, but older.
Yeah.
Well, he was bald back in the 80s, though.
Right.
He's always been bald.
Yep.
I think he was in 2010. I don't know if you've ever
That's
watched
right.
it.
Yes.
And he's already balding then, and that's like the early 80s.
Yep.
He just, I guess, was not blessed to have hair. But I do think she's at least similarly aged, if not a little bit older, from my memory.
That seems about right. Yeah.
Third Rock from the Sun was created by Bonnie and Terry Turner, who they've created a few shows, but most famously, and we've already podcasted about it, they also created That 70s Show.
Another good one.
Oh, did everybody watch That 70s Show?
Yes, I was on that podcast.
Yeah. That's true, Michael was. Did you watch That 70s Show?
I watched it.
Did you like it?
It was tough for me to watch. I found myself not liking most of the cast. Like I wanted.
That would be.
I wanted
big
Kurtwood
drawback.
Smith and
That would be
Deborah
brutal.
Jo Rupp. Whatever. Is that her name?
Yes.
You liked Kitty in Red?
Yeah, that's what I wanted. I wanted all the kids to go away.
Thank you. I loved them. They were my favorite part.
Kurtwood Smith is a good actor.
Yeah, he's all over the place too.
He is.
Star Trek.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved them, but I don't want the kids to go away.
Well,
Except for maybe Fez.
the kids are good.
Like Kelso.
Oh, but he was funny the first few seasons. Then the
And I
shit
did
got
watch,
old.
and the show did get old for me.
Yeah, I found it got old for me too. I liked the first. I don't even know if I watched the last couple of seasons.
We had a discussion about that.
I did
Yes.
give that 80s show a try, but I think the network pulled the plug before I gave up on it. The spinoff.
Wow.
That 80s show?
Wow.
Yeah. No, they canceled it after
it.
one season, yeah.
I feel like they didn't even air all of it or something.
I don't think they did. No, it was like a huge flop.
It was
an
an
To make
abysmal
something out of
experiment.
the 80s. Anyway. I'm sorry.
What did you say?
It was made in the 80s.
The 80s was like boring.
Well,
Hey, I was born in the 70s. I feel good. Phew! Well, I liked That 70s Show, but that's because I liked Hyde. Okay.
Yeah.
They also created Normal Ohio, which was a short-lived show, and Whoopi.
I don't remember that one at all.
That was the one time Whoopi Goldberg did TV before The View.
I mean...
Oh, except for
cast
Star Trek:
member?
The Next Generation.
She-
She was a guest star,
She
recurring
was,
guest star.
She was in a lot of the
I
cast
know.
shots for promo.
she had her own trading card.
Wow,
Okay, then.
There's a lot of
She's real.
I mean, of course she's real. She was in all the movies and stuff. Jumpin' Jack Flash.
That was a good
all
one.
that.
I
Sister Act.
read this list of shows that they did. And
Yes.
Other than 70s Show,
Yeah,
I
Normal Ohio. And
I
people were like,
recognized the
wait,
name
what?
Normal Ohio, but I couldn't
Yeah.
even guess
Yeah,
at what it was
no.
about. Probably Ohio?
They seem to have a thing for Ohio.
I thought there
Except
Third
for that.
Rock's in Ohio.
several other shows. It seems like I've seen their name on other shows.
Yeah, I feel like
as executive producers, not as creators.
Oh,
okay, that's
I
the
see.
thing. That's
Okay.
the thing.
Yeah, for this question, I always stick to their creating because they actually wrote it in addition to producing it. Producing it is just we're giving our input and maybe some money and resources.
Right.
Gotcha.
So,
The development aspect.
Oh,
You
yes.
don't do the development aspect.
Yeah.
Did you watch Normal Ohio?
no. And I didn't watch that 80s show, and I don't care. And I didn't watch Whoopi. And I love that 70s show. It's one of my all-time favorite sitcoms. I love it. It's atypical for me to do so because it's basically a stoner comedy, but I enjoy the characters. All of the characters, minus Fez a little bit. I said good day.
Minus Fez, and yet she just quoted him.
Yeah.
So I don't know
Well,
what
because
that
he had the
says.
quotes. I don't know that watching Third Rock would motivate me to watch any of the others. I think that Third Rock
not
and
for
that
me.
70s show are their two best shows.
I don't think I even ever heard of any of those other ones.
And they're not motivated to watch it, I take it.
Nope.
How would you compare Third Rock to other sitcoms? How would you rank it amongst your personal favorite sitcoms, or does it even merit a ranking?
I would rank it, but I don't know where. I don't have this long list of TV show rankings.
Well, you don't have to have actual rankings. It could be like, it would be in my top 50 somewhere.
I really did enjoy it, but I do remember thinking as I realized we were doing the podcast today that we still haven't done news radio. That is like the same era.
Oh, I better write that down.
That was a very, very good show.
But I like
Wait,
news
which one?
radio more.
News radio.
Oh, news radio, yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one.
So it's below news radio, but if you've listened to the live top 5 of No Outlets, top 5 comedies, that news radio was on my top 5, so that's pretty high up there for me. I really did enjoy Third Rock. I think it might even hold up more than Friends held up. Friends
can't
feels
agree
like more
there.
of a 90s. I'm not sure. I really did enjoy Friends too, but
Well, I actually tried. I read it like way above Seinfeld. People are nuts about Seinfeld. I've tried to watch it, and I just don't get it. I just don't enjoy it.
You almost sounded like one of the characters when you said that.
Oh.
Yeah, actually, yeah, you did.
Yeah, just don't get it. So I rank Third Rock up there. Probably is one of my faves. Yeah,
I'd put Seinfeld higher.
yeah. I just
Ooh,
can't
that's
get
a
into
hard
it.
one.
But
I
you
feel-
said Seinfeld doesn't hold up.
I said the finale doesn't hold up.
I
The
thought you
finale
said
didn't
show.
hold up at the
Yeah,
time.
Yeah. I think there are episodes in Seinfeld that are timeless, that are always going to be funny. And my number one, though this is for a Seinfeld podcast, my number one favorite episode is The Contest.
That one, everyone loves that one. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's like, it was listed on the TV Guide's like 100 greatest episodes
Oh,
of
yeah.
all time.
Yeah.
I think it was the top 10.
Probably.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, so there are, and the Soup Nazi and
Oh yeah.
some of the other things that I mean, there's really classic episodes that will never not be good, but the finale does not hold up. And it just didn't match the rest of the show.
No, I agree. What did Michael think?
For Third Rock, it's a good show, but I'm not sure I would rank it, I think it's one of those bubbling under things, like if you want to use a music metaphor. It's like, it's good, it was good enough to be below 100, but like, I don't know, it was a good show, but there's just so much around it at the time and afterwards and before. It's just, when it's on, it's enjoyable and you laugh and you might pull out a reference here and there, but it just doesn't merit a plugging into a numbered, tiered system.
But
Fair enough.
I would compare it though with some of the sitcoms that their humor, I'm using air quotes here too, is based on people just insulting each other for the whole
Well,
half hour.
yes.
So I rank them way up above a lot of those.
I'm kind of in the Michael camp on this one. I think that only because it took some getting used to, and there are sitcoms that I do like a lot more. I agree that, if it's on and I'm watching it, it's funny, but it's not one that I would think of to put in, like, these are my favorite sitcoms.
Uh-huh.
But I like it. Top 50.
I'd watch it again.
I'd probably watch it again, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
It might be a while, but I would.
Have you followed the cast members to any other projects? We've mentioned some
Definitely.
of them.
Yeah,
Flintstones, Viva Rock Vegas. No.
Who's in that?
Kristen Johnson.
Oh, right.
She's in the X's right now, which I haven't seen lately.
Is Wayne Knight in that too?
Yes.
He is.
Oh, that's funny.
He is. Yeah.
He's also Newman,
Yeah.
but that was before this.
I think it's hard to not even accidentally follow Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Or John Lithgow, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is anyone watching Trial and Error?
I wanted to.
Yes.
I missed it. I wanted... If I get the time, I want to go back and watch it. I thought it looked funny.
Yeah, I've
got
missed
renewed.
the last episode or two, I think, but it's a little over the top. His
Well,
Parks
Parks
and
and Rec, right? It's the same people as Parks and Rec, isn't it?
What?
It's the same people as Parks and Rec, isn't it?
I don't know enough about it.
I think it is.
I just
yeah.
know that it's on, it's renewed, it's going to a season 2, and he's employed.
I'll say about French Stewart, if you do catch him in one of the random things he does other than this, he's definitely a good actor. They weren't like, this is a weird guy, let's just throw him in the show. He
doesn't just play Harry all the time.
Yeah, like
With the squinty eyes.
Yeah, he pops up in, like, what are those types of shows you don't like, Kylie?
Procedurals?
Yeah, like he's
Yes.
either a red herring or a murderer or
Yeah.
something. And
No wonder I haven't seen
he is not Harry at all.
No, he hasn't gone on to make a career out of being
Yeah,
Harry.
he doesn't have like another show or a movie that like the other three.
His last regular TV show was Mom.
Oh, really?
I've not heard of that.
It's been on for a few seasons.
Yeah,
Apparently.
the Anna Faris show?
Oh, yes,
Oh, okay.
yes, I've seen a few
He's a
episodes
cast
of it.
member on that.
What do you play?
Didn't remember him being on that.
I would have to look it up.
Hmm.
I just make a list. I just make the talking points. You
Yeah.
guys are supposed to know
Okay.
it.
There's a TV show that, well, to borrow a phrasing from a podcast that I listen to a lot, doesn't exist. Mom. Like it's on. It's been on for a long time. People seem to watch it and love it, but is it gonna be around in 10 years? I mean,
It's the weird popularity of some of the network shows that
Yeah.
are on that many people don't even know exist, but they keep renewing. Like, I don't know how they decide to cancel different shows these days.
Ratings, money,
Granted, I love
acclaim,
Anna Faris.
Anna Faris. So the answer was yes. Would you recommend Third Rock
Yes.
from the Sun to others? Why or why not?
I would. It's funny.
Yep. Ditto.
You get some Phil Hartman episodes, and that's good.
Yeah.
oh, damn,
another
that's the
R.I.P.
third one we've mentioned.
yeah.
He died. He was the cliffhanger
Quite a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
for a season that they really had to rewrite, and I don't know if they did a good job with that season finale where he abducted Harry, his character, and then it came back, and he died before they filmed the second part.
That was tragic when that happened.
Yeah.
Yes.
It ruined news radio.
So,
Well, yeah, because anyway, that's for the News Radio podcast.
Coming soon?
I'll check now.
adding it to the list, a very long list, and
It's a very long
comically
list.
has like multiple pages rolling out of it.
He's not totally off base. So what about the rest of you? Would you recommend Third Rock? Why or why not?
Well, it's as I was about ready to say. Bringing up that whole that cheesy joke of the pages rolling out. I mean, I would recommend it to people that like that style of humor, because I just feel like the show was, barring my really awfully dumb statement of saying it was very typical of late 90s sitcom.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's good. No, it's good that you pointed it out, because, like, why did I say that? That was ridiculous. It was nothing like the late 90s, and it was very reminiscent of, old, dare I say, cheesy sitcoms. I mean, I shouldn't say that, because I did watch a lot of 50s and 60s show. I grew up on I Love Lucy, and I grew up on Dick Van Dyke Show, and I used to watch Mr. Ed. I can remember Mr. Ed on Nick at Night.
Hilarious, isn't it?
Horse talk.
Yes.
Yeah, really.
My mom, she taught. I feel like I'm digging a hole here.
Here's a rope.
What I'm trying to say
Dig up.
is that I would recommend it to people that like those sitcoms, because it's very reminiscent of those sitcoms.
I would
I
recommend.
apologize to everyone over the age of 40.
True, I've made that too. I would recommend Third Rock. I would say it's
I'm
very.
only 5 years away. I'm just saying. Okay, anyway.
It's okay. This is a larger topic. I would recommend Third Rock because I think it's very theatrical, the way it's presented.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's very much
Very good point.
theater acting
Yes.
in a sitcom space. And if you enjoy that, you're going to find it funny. If you don't enjoy that, if you struggle through musical theater, for example, you're going to struggle through Third Rock. That's what I think.
Well, I struggle through musical theater, but not theater.
Okay.
As a musician, people think I'm crazy because I'm a musician and I don't really like musicals. But I love theater,
and so, your niece is in musical theater.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Anything she's in is wonderful.
Okay.
Yes, that is the right answer.
Good save.
Right answer. Sarah's probably listening to this. Is there anything else you want to say about Third Rock from the Sun that we haven't already covered?
God bless television.
Indeed.
We should all end with the salute.
Which won't work on a podcast.
Yeah. No. So just pretend that we're all doing the salute thing, where we do the thing over his head.
I just did it.
And Michael did a really good job. Too bad you didn't see it.
Yep.
With that said, though, what I'd like to do now is thank Michael, Penny, and Nick for joining us for our look back at Third Rock from the Sun, which is a very funny show if you haven't already picked it up by now. But what I'm going to do now is read the little end statement that I've been reading. CPU was produced by Back Pocket Productions, run by yours truly, the Chief Couch Potato and Ales from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Please, if you like what you hear, would you take the time to rate us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or Google Play? Give us some stars, maybe a comment or a review. This is how we spread the word and how people get to notice us. It's weird how these things work. If you have suggestions on shows we might consider, contact us at our website, which is, of course, couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com. We also have an email address at couchpotatoesunitepodcast@gmail.com, and we're available via Facebook and Twitter. Of course, we add new and old shows to chat about around the water cooler all the time. We have so many more new episodes coming down the pike. In case you didn't pick that up in the intro, make sure you subscribe to the blog, any one of those channels or social media accounts, and stay up on new events and episodes. You can find old CPU episodes by searching the web, or you can come directly to our website. There's a search box in the menu at the top right. Third Rock from the Sun is currently available to stream for extra cost at Amazon.com. It is not on any of the typical streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, or Prime. The series was available for a time on Netflix and is apparently one of the titles that have left the library. So that's a point down for you, Netflix, with your changing menu.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But we still want our free subscription. Until our next Looking Back podcast and or our next episode, because new episodes are published weekly, keep listening, keep watching, stay tuned. Bye-bye.